Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I do. Oh,
It's okay.
I'm afraid. I'm sorry. Oh my God, I'm afraid.
Whose fault is that though? Is it network? Is it like, cause like
I don't, that's not network. That's not network wasn't
at
there.
all.
That's an inner person.
Right. Network wasn't there. The network
Right.
wasn't there.
How would they
So-
know?
Exactly.
Yeah,
They found out the same way that we found out on social media.
Here's a moment that made a lot of people stop and say, wait, what? Tamar Braxton suing her own mother, not a stranger, not a business partner, her mother, Evelyn Braxton. And the reason behind it? Support for Michael Jr. in the middle of deeply disturbing allegations that ripped open wounds Tamar has been trying to heal her entire life. This wasn't just a legal move, this was personal. This was emotional. This was decades of pain finally boiling over. Because when Tamar took that step, she wasn't just filing paperwork. She was saying, I feel betrayed by the one person who was supposed to protect me. And what nobody expected was how ugly, complicated, and heartbreaking this story would become once you really look at the family dynamics behind it. So let's slow this down. Let's take this piece by piece because this isn't just about a lawsuit. It's about silence, loyalty, family image, and what happens when a survivor feels abandoned again.
Well, first of all, I was very disappointed in finding out via social media because our family is closer than that. And to have someone else regurgitate that story to us. Well, or I can only speak for me. Right. But for someone else to tell me the story of something that happened to my own family is very disheartening. And as a family member, I would not have allowed that 911 call to happen the way that it did.
Tamar Braxton grew up in a family the world saw as talented, tight-knit, and unbreakable. 5 sisters, a mother who managed them, gospel roots, reality TV fame, and a legacy that looked solid from the outside. But inside that house, Tamar has said for years that things were not what they seemed. She was the youngest, the loud one, the emotional one, the one people often dismissed as too much. And for a long time, that made it easy for others to ignore her pain. As the Braxtons rose to fame, Tamar struggled in ways the cameras didn't fully capture. Her relationships were chaotic. Her marriages fell apart. Her mental health suffered. And time after time, she hinted that something dark from her childhood followed her everywhere. Eventually, she stopped hinting. Tamar publicly revealed that she was mistreated for years as a child. Not outside the home, inside it, by people who had access to her daily life. She didn't name names. She didn't point fingers on camera, but she made one thing very clear. The trauma didn't come from strangers. And when she finally spoke her truth, she expected support, understanding, protection. Instead, what she felt was disbelief, distance, and pressure to keep quiet for the sake of the family image. That hurt didn't come from strangers online. It came from her own blood.
How did the tape get out? Was it the boyfriend that put it out there?
We have no idea how it came out. We just know, we know as much as you guys know, that I have to be honest. We don't know all the details of what transpired before that happened. We don't know what happened while the paramedics were there. We have no idea. We just know what you guys know. We know what we heard from the 911 call. As Trina stated, we heard everything on social media. Trina called me in the wee hours of the morning, and that's how I found out. And I looked on social media and was like, why is this everywhere? And we don't know about this.
Now fast forward to the situation involving Michael Jr. Michael Jr., the son of Tamar's brother, became the center of serious allegations that shook the family again. And once again, Tamar found herself watching history repeat itself. What broke her wasn't just the accusations themselves, it was who stood where afterward. According to Tamar, her mother, Evelyn, chose to publicly support Michael Jr., not privately, not quietly, but in ways that Tamar felt dismissed the gravity of the situation and ignored the pain of survivors. And here's where the twist hits for Tamar. This wasn't just about Michael Jr., this was about patterns. About silence being protected, about victims being questioned, about family loyalty being valued more than truth. She felt like she was being re-traumatized, watching the same dynamic she lived through as a child play out again. And this time, she didn't stay silent. Tamar sued her mother. Let that sink in. A daughter suing the woman who gave birth to her. Not over money, not over contracts, but over what Tamar believed was emotional harm and betrayal tied to supporting someone accused of harmful behavior.
Well, I'm going to say this very blatantly and very honestly. During season 7 of Braxton Family Values, we do not talk about Tamar's physical or mental health. We talk about how it affected us, but we do not physically address Tamar's hurt, pain, or experience. We can't speak to that. Tamar has her own story to tell, and it's very important for Tamar to tell her story in her way whenever she decides to tell it. We in no way, shape, or form addressed how Tamar is doing or how Tamar is feeling. We only addressed how we felt, as we're doing now, how we felt when the situation happened, when it came to us.
Tamar's message was loud without needing to shout. I cannot heal in an environment that keeps choosing silence over accountability. From Tamar's perspective, Evelyn's actions weren't neutral. They were a statement. A statement that felt like once again protecting a male family member mattered more than acknowledging the damage done. And for someone who has said she spent her childhood being ignored, blamed, or told to keep quiet, this cut deep. Evelyn, on the other hand, has always presented herself as the matriarch, the protector of the family, the woman who held everything together. From her viewpoint, she may have believed she was standing by her child and grandchild, refusing to abandon family in the face of allegations that hadn't been legally proven. And that's where this story becomes painfully complicated, because two things can exist at the same time. A mother can believe she's protecting her family, and a daughter can feel completely destroyed by that choice.
I think if you didn't react to it, people would say, what the hell? They don't love their sister?
I mean, it's damn if you do, it's damn if you do, and damn if you don't. If we didn't say anything, we're insensitive. And now that we are saying things, and we're only speaking on how it, like Trina said, how it affected us, how we were affected in this situation, because medically speaking, like a lot of doctors will tell you that it's important for the victim to understand how it impacted your family and your friends and your loved ones. It's important for them to see that. So maybe they can get themselves together a little quicker. I'm just saying that, it's unfair really, but we definitely touch on how we experienced it and how we felt when we found out about it. And I don't think anything was wrong with that.
Tamar felt like support for Michael Jr. meant rejection of her truth. It meant ignoring how deeply triggering this situation was for her. It meant telling her once again, your pain comes second. And for Tamar, that was the final straw. She spoke about feeling gaslit, about feeling like the family kept rewriting the narrative to make uncomfortable truths disappear, about how every time she tried to set boundaries, she was labeled dramatic, unstable, or difficult. But here's the thing nobody can ignore anymore. Tamar has nearly lost her life before. She has been open about SA attempts. She has spoken about how years of unaddressed trauma almost destroyed her completely. So when she says the situation pushed her to a breaking point, people need to listen. And this brings us to another layer of pain in this story, the way her family found out about one of those attempts. Tamar's sisters have spoken publicly about how they discovered what happened, not through a phone call from Tamar, not through a family meeting. They found out via social media. A 911 call was leaked, and suddenly the entire world knew before her own sisters did.
Tamar also insisted the footage from the show was staged, specifically referring to when you all found out about the attempt. What are your thoughts on that? I know sometimes you have to reenact things.
Staged? What was staged, though?
I think the reaction, like when y'all, the reaction to finding out about her.
Well, it was merely a question. That's the same question that you're asking us. It was a question that the producers asked us. Hey, how did you feel when this happened? How did you feel when you found out about it? So it's not really reenacting that. It's about expressing and answering the question of how we felt and what we experienced when we found out about it. It was just a question. It wasn't a reenactment.
Her sisters expressed how disappointed and disheartened they were to find out through social media rather than directly from family. They talked about how if they had known at the time it happened, things would have gone differently. They would have protected her differently. The 911 call wouldn't have become public the way it did. And they placed blame squarely on one person, David, Tamar's boyfriend at the time. They pointed out that on the tape, while his girlfriend was going through a crisis, he was talking about the network, mentioning Bravo TV during a 911 call. They questioned who does that when their girlfriend is in distress, and they made it clear that the leak didn't come from the family. It came from someone close to Tamar who had access to that moment. But this created another complicated situation, because during season 7 of Braxton Family Values, the show addressed what happened, not directly about Tamar's mental health or what she experienced, but about how it affected the family. The sisters filmed their reactions to finding out. They discussed how they felt when they learned what happened, and Tamar was not okay with that.
It's unfair because we did not speak in any way, shape, or form about Tamar and her situation. We did not make that 911 call. We did not say anything to the media in regards to Tamar's situation. We did not openly say anything about what's happening with Tamar's situation, except for the fact that we love her and we're here for her and we're in her corner. And yet we are the ones who are being ostracized when we are not the ones who are putting things openly in the media. It's completely unfair. It's completely unfair and unwarranted.
She took to social media and accused the network of using her hurt to make money. She said she was no longer employed by WETV and they were still using her pain for storyline. She called the footage staged, specifically referring to when her sisters found out about the attempt. The sisters defended themselves. They explained they weren't speaking about Tamar's physical or mental health directly. They were only addressing how they felt as family members when the situation came to them. They couldn't speak for Tamar. That was her story to tell in her way whenever she decided to tell it. They were simply answering questions about their own experience, their own feelings, their own reactions, and they pointed out the impossible position they were in. If they didn't say anything on the show, people would say they don't care about their sister. If they did address it, they were accused of exploiting her pain. It was damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Is it fair to say if the tape wasn't put out there by whoever put it out there, no one would even know anything because it could have been private, and then her privacy could have really been protected. She could have healed on her own without us even knowing about it to talk about it. Is that fair to say?
That part, yes.
They felt it was supremely unfair to be attacked as a family for continuing to work and getting ostracized for it, because they didn't have the same experience Tamar did. They emphasized they did not make that 911 call. They did not say anything to the media about Tamar's situation. They didn't openly discuss what was happening except to say they loved her and were in her corner. Yet they were the ones being ostracized when they weren't the ones putting things openly in the media. And they made a valid point. If the tape hadn't been put out there by whoever leaked it, no one would have known anything. It would have remained private. Tamar's privacy could have been protected, and she could have healed on her own without the world talking about it. The person who put that tape out there so quickly, that's the person responsible for violating her privacy. And it was not done by her family. But for Tamar, watching her family film a reality show discussing their feelings about her essay attempt while she was trying to heal felt like another betrayal. It felt like her pain was being used for content, like the family business mattered more than her well-being. Like once again, she was being treated as a storyline instead of a person. This lawsuit wasn't revenge. It was desperation. It was a woman saying, "I cannot survive another moment of being dismissed." The emotional fallout was brutal. The family fractured even more. Communication broke down. Public statements felt cold and distant, and fans were left watching a once close family fall apart in real time. Tamar distanced herself. She focused on therapy, on her son, on rebuilding herself away from the chaos. But the pain didn't just disappear, because suing your mother doesn't erase the love you still have for her. It doesn't erase childhood memories. It doesn't erase the wish that things could have been different. Tamar said she wanted acknowledgement, not denial, not excuses, acknowledgement. She wanted her pain to be taken seriously, especially by the woman who watched her grow up. And maybe the most heartbreaking part of all of this is that Tamar never asked for perfection. She asked for belief, for empathy, for someone to finally say, "I hear you." Instead, she felt like the message was, protect the family name at all costs. This situation didn't just affect Tamar emotionally, it impacted her career, her relationships, her ability to trust. Every time she tried to speak her truth, she risked being labeled unstable again. Every time she defended herself, she was accused of tearing the family apart. But what people often forget is this: families don't fall apart because someone speaks. They fall apart because someone refuses to listen. Tamar's story forces a hard conversation about how families handle mistreatment allegations, about how often survivors are expected to stay quiet for the sake of peace, about how loyalty can become a weapon instead of protection. Whether people agree with Tamar or not, one thing is undeniable: she was done suffering in silence. And as painful as this lawsuit was, it marked a turning point. Tamar chose herself. She chose healing over image, truth over comfort, boundaries over tradition. And that choice cost her dearly, but it also saved her, because sometimes the hardest betrayal isn't what happens to you as a child. It's realizing as an adult that the people you hoped would protect you never learned how. This story doesn't have a clean ending. There's no neat bow, no perfect resolution. There's just a woman who finally said enough. And maybe that's the real takeaway. Not the lawsuit, not the headlines, but the reminder that silence doesn't heal families. Honesty does. And until that honesty exists, the pain will keep echoing through generations. Think about what Tamar went through. Childhood trauma she's been trying to heal from her entire life. Finally speaking up only to feel dismissed and told to stay quiet. Watching her mother publicly support someone accused of harmful behavior in a way that felt like rejection of her own truth. Having her SA attempt leaked to the world before her family even knew. Watching her sisters film a reality show about their reactions to her pain, being labeled dramatic and unstable every time she tried to set boundaries. At what point does a person break? At what point does survival require cutting ties with the very people who are supposed to protect you? For Tamar, that point came when she filed that lawsuit. When she said, "I cannot heal in this environment." When she chose herself over family loyalty. And the saddest part is that it didn't have to be this way. If Evelyn had chosen to believe her daughter, if the family had prioritized Tamar's healing over image, if someone had simply said, "I hear you, I believe you, your pain matters," maybe that lawsuit never happens. Maybe that family stays together. Maybe Tamar doesn't have to choose between her mother and her mental health. But that's not what happened. And now we're left with a fractured family, a mother and daughter divided by a lawsuit, and a woman who had to sue her own mother just to feel heard. The question now is, who's willing to listen before it's too late?